When I heard the Konosuba movie was releasing in theaters in America, I was incredibly excited. That is, until I realized I'd be releasing during the week that I'd be out of state in North Carolina to attend a wedding. Then, after looking at the theaters, I saw the nearest one would be 2 hours away, and during that day, it was pouring rain. So, like any reasonable person, I decided not to go. I'm joking. I went driving through the rain, which, as I crossed states, turned into snow. And as I finally arrived at the theater making the final walk to the freezing cold, I started thinking to myself, was this movie really going to be worth all this? And as I finished the movie and I walked out of that theater with a headache from laughing so much, I realized I would do it all over again just to watch it a second time. Before I start, let me just get a second to thank everyone for watching my previous Konosuba videos. And to all my new subscribers, the response I've been getting keeps me motivated to keep making these videos, so if you like this video and want to see more, leave a like. With that being said, let's begin. Konosuba The Legend of the Crimson starts off better than what I could have hoped for. It opens up in a grassy field only for a familiar enemy to show up, the giant frog, which has become pretty synonymous with the series at this point. Then finally in the distance, an even more familiar explosion appears. And you already know who that is. This scene gives off a bit of nostalgia, especially if you've been waiting for more Konosuba since 2017, like many fans have. We then get the whole party acquainted, and Kazuma does a quick summary of the show pretty much and explains all his party members' character traits, in case, you forgot them for whatever reason. Union then barges in with a proposal to Kazuma, and it's at this point the adventure of my favorite four idiots begins. So now that we got the intro out of the way, what makes this movie so damn good? Well, for starters, comedy. To absolutely no one's surprise, this movie is hysterical. If you caught yourself laughing watching the show, then you're probably going to have moments in this movie where you're going to need a second to breathe. No, really. When I watched it in theaters, I ended up missing out on so many things in the movie because I was still catching my breath from laughing at the last gag. In my previous Konosuba videos, I showed a few snippets of Konosuba's fantastic comedy, but this time around, I'm keeping the clips to a minimum because this movie has so much quality gold that if you're watching this and haven't seen the movie yet, I want you to enjoy every bit of it. I don't want to be like every damn movie trailer where they put all the best jokes in the trailer. That being said, I do feel like I need to discuss two scenes in particular. While all the jokes in this movie, in my opinion, are amazing, there were controversies in this movie. Moving on, I really need to talk about the voice acting in this movie. And it goes without saying that the cast of this show has always been fantastic, but the Konosuba movie raises the bar even further than ever before. If you watched my previous videos, you already know how much I praise the voice performance of the Japanese cast. And this movie turns it up to an 11. Kazuma and Megumin in particular, with Kazuma slowly descending into madness as he gets more and more fed up with having to always deal with his broken party. I mean, the movie wasn't having a psychological trauma counter for nothing. As for Megumin, she went above and beyond with her performance. Without spoiling anything, I'll say that this is the first time we see a new side of Megumin, and seeing her this way was just so adorable. More importantly though, her explosions in this movie were all just pure hype. Every single one she did in this movie, especially the last two, were so incredibly memorable to me. And if you're going to watch this, I highly recommend watching it in a home theater if you can, just for those moments alone. Now, as for Aqua and Darkness, well, they kinda get shafted in this movie. In fact, I'd say this is probably the biggest critique I have about this movie. Darkness had a hysterical moment in the beginning, and then later on had a standoff by herself, but that's about all her contributions were in this movie. As for Aqua, nope, that's pretty much all she did in this movie. which is pretty fitting of her character, honestly. That being said though, to me, it really didn't feel like a huge deal. I mean, the way I see it is that the upside of having less Aqua and Darkness is I get more Megami and Kazuma. I don't know, maybe I just have a bias towards Kazuma and Megami. Next up we have the world building that this movie had. Konosuba has always had an interesting world to me, and that barely has anything to do with the setting. I mean, with all the isekai shows taking place in a fantasy world, Konosuba is far from original. What is unique about this show, however, is the way the world is put together by other characters who were isekai'd by our favorite idiot goddess. Learning how Kazuma's predecessors screwed up his world is probably one of my favorite aspects of this show. And wouldn't you know it, when Kazuma and the gang go to the village, they start seeing that many of the Crimson Demon tourist attractions are basically anime figurines, or depictions of catgirls. Well, it later turns out, the entire conception of the Crimson Demons was actually, once again, caused by that shut-in weeb who made the Destroyer. Watching this whole thing unravel was an absolute joy, and the reveal had me and the whole audience in the theater cracking up. It was this kind of world building, along with the interesting backstory of Megumin's past escapades that were also shown in the movie, that got me to finally read the light novel. And I'm not the kind of person to do that. In fact, this is the first time I've ever read a book to something for anything, ever. And after reading the books, and finally being able to give this movie a second watch, it made all those little moments just a little extra better for me. Now for the ending of this movie. And if you're watching this and haven't seen the movie, be warned for some major spoilers. I'm not going to beat around the bush. The final action scene when Kazuma hatches his last plan to take down Sylvia was Kino.
すごい魔力量。めぐみさん、ユンユンさん、受け取ってください。魔力が、里のみんなの力が。ライトオブセイバー。吹けよ嵐、響けよ爆裂。爆裂魔法はロマンなんです。どんな不可能も可能にする最強の魔法なんです。エクスプローズ。
I could watch this part of the movie a million times, and it would still give me goosebumps. This is the best action scene Konosuba has given us in the whole series. Hell, this is probably one of the best action sequences in all of anime in general. But on top of all of that, this scene still adds Konosuba flavoring to it. I mean, take a step back. What the hell is even going on? The entire village just powered up two 14-year-old girls in order to defeat some giant-titted amalgamation who's trying to ara our main hero-kun, who is using that fact as his main weapon to take her down. The absolute absurdity of this whole thing is really a testament to this show. I've never watched a movie that blends action, comedy, and romance so perfectly, like this movie has. Konosuba Legend of the Crimson made me feel so many back-to-back emotions. I laughed, I loved, I wowed, and of course, laughed again. This whole movie was a roller coaster ride that I'll gladly find an excuse to go on again and again. I can't imagine what this movie would be like to someone who has never watched this show. It'd be like they were on an acid trip. Actually, that's exactly what Roger Avery said after he finished watching the movie with his daughter. If you don't know who Avery is, he's a screenwriter, director, producer to many films. Most notably, he was the screenwriter for a small indie film you might have heard of called Pulp Fiction. You heard that right, the man was dragged in by his daughter to watch the film, and this dude gave Konosuba 5 stars on Letterboxd. To put this rating into perspective, this dude gave The Godfather 4 freaking stars. Yes! Konosuba confirmed better than Godfather! This dude really just stumbled upon this movie, looked at it, and was just like,
God damn, Jimmy. This some serious gourmet shit.
And gourmet shit it was. There's only one thing left that's confirmed right now for Konosuba, and that is the English dub for this movie. And I have to say, the English voice actors for Kazuma and Megumin have some enormous shoes to fill. And if you want to see what I think of the dub when it comes out, hit that like button and subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.